Imagine riding through the unforgiving frontier with nowhere to hide as darkness closes in. A lone cowboy stumbles upon a cave, expecting nothing more than shelter, but instead, he finds an Apache widow living there completely alone. She carries a secret so powerful that it has kept her hidden from the world for years, and once he learns the truth, neither of their lives will ever be the same. Stay with us, because this unforgettable frontier story reveals how one unexpected encounter can change two destinies forever. The sun was sinking behind the rugged hills when Ethan Walker realized he had made a serious mistake. He had spent the entire day tracking a wounded Mustang through unfamiliar country, hoping to guide the animal away from a stretch of steep cliffs. By the time he gave up the search, dark clouds had gathered across the sky. The wind carried the scent of rain, and the first distant rumble of thunder echoed through the valley. His horse, Ranger, moved with growing caution over the rocky ground. Ethan scanned the hills for any place where they could spend the night. Out on the open land, a storm could become just as dangerous as any outlaw or wild animal. Then he spotted a narrow opening in the side of a rocky hill. It was partly hidden behind a cluster of cedar trees. From a distance, it looked deep enough to shield both him and his horse from the coming rain. He tied Ranger beneath the trees where there was fresh grass to eat and stepped toward the cave with a small lantern in one hand. The air inside was cool and still. Water dripped softly from the stone ceiling. At first, it seemed abandoned. Then he noticed something strange. A neatly stacked pile of firewood rested against one wall. Nearby sat a clay pot filled with fresh water. A woven basket held dried herbs that had not been there long. Someone lived here. Ethan turned to leave, not wishing to disturb whoever had claimed the shelter. Before he reached the entrance, a calm voice spoke from the darkness. "You have good manners for a stranger." He slowly turned. A woman stepped into the lantern light. She wore simple Apache clothing that had been carefully mended many times. Her dark hair was tied behind her shoulders, and her face carried both quiet strength and deep sorrow. Though she held no weapon in her hands, her steady eyes revealed that she feared very little. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Ethan lowered his hat in respect. "I only came to escape the storm," he said quietly. "If this is your home, I will leave." The woman studied him without anger. "The storm will reach us before you find another shelter," she replied. "You may stay for one night. Tomorrow, our paths can separate." Ethan thanked her and stepped no farther into the cave than she allowed. Neither of them knew that this simple act of kindness would uncover a secret that had remained hidden for many years. Rain poured across the valley throughout the night. The sound echoed through the cave while flashes of lightning briefly lit the stone walls. Ethan remained close to the entrance, careful to respect the woman's space. She sat near a small fire, quietly stirring a pot of herbs into warm water. After a long silence, she placed a wooden cup on the ground between them. "You look cold," she said. Ethan accepted it with a grateful nod. "Thank you." The warm drink carried the scent of sage and wild mint. It eased the chill that had settled into his bones. "I am Ethan," he said after a moment. The woman looked into the fire before answering. "My name is Ayanna." Neither asked the other many questions. Out on the frontier, people often carried painful memories they preferred to keep buried. As dawn arrived, the storm finally passed. Sunlight slipped through the mouth of the cave, revealing the green valley below. Ethan stepped outside to check on Ranger. The horse was safe, though restless after the long night. While gathering fresh water from a nearby spring, Ethan noticed something unusual. Small footprints circled the cave. They were not old. Someone had visited recently. When he returned, Ayanna was placing fresh branches over the entrance to hide it from anyone passing through the hills. "You are careful," Ethan observed. "I have learned to be." She spoke without fear, only quiet experience. As Ethan prepared to leave, he noticed a small carved wooden horse resting on a flat stone near the fire. It had been shaped with remarkable care. One of its legs had been repaired many times. "Did you make this?" he asked. Ayanna gently picked it up. "My husband carved it many winters ago." "You miss him?" "Every day." Her voice remained steady, but her eyes drifted toward the valley outside. "He never returned from a journey. Some believed he was taken by outlaws. Others said the mountains claimed him. I searched until hope became harder to carry than grief. Ethan lowered his eyes, understanding the weight of loss. Just as he tightened Ranger's saddle, the sound of distant hoofbeats reached the cave. Ayanna's calm expression changed at once. Without speaking, she pulled Ethan behind the rocks near the entrance. 5 armed riders appeared on the trail below. They were not passing through. They were searching for someone. As Ethan watched the men scan the hills, he noticed Ayanna's hands trembling for the first time. Whoever those riders were, they had found the valley again. The riders searched the valley for nearly an hour before disappearing beyond the western ridge. Neither Ethan nor Ayanna moved until the sound of hoofbeats faded into the distance. Ethan finally broke the silence. "They were looking for you." Ayanna closed her eyes for a moment before giving a slow nod. "They have returned every few months for many years." "Who are they?" She walked to the back of the cave and knelt beside a loose stone. With careful hands, she lifted it away and removed a small leather pouch. Inside rested a silver pocket watch, a folded map, and a worn letter protected by cloth. "My husband found these before he disappeared," she said. Ethan unfolded the map. It showed an old trading route through the mountains. Several places had been marked with careful circles. "The men searching for you want this?" he asked. "They believe the map leads to a hidden shipment of gold that vanished many years ago." "And does it?" Ayanna shook her head. "They have never understood its true meaning." She handed Ethan the letter. It was written by a missionary who had traveled across the frontier many years before. The letter explained that the marked places were not treasure sites. They were safe camps where Apache families, wounded travelers, and lost children could find food, water, and shelter during dangerous times. "My husband promised to protect this map," Ayanna whispered. "If greedy men found these places, they would destroy them. That is why I have stayed here. Someone had to guard the first shelter." Ethan looked around the quiet cave with new understanding. It had never been a hiding place. It was the first refuge on a trail built to save lives. He carefully folded the map and returned it to Ayanna. "Then we cannot let those men find it." Ayanna met his eyes. "They will return with more riders." Ethan rested his hand on the handle of his revolver, knowing that leaving was no longer an option. Some promises belonged to family. Others belonged to anyone with the courage to keep them. Before sunrise the next morning, Ethan and Ayanna left the cave together. They covered the entrance with loose branches and scattered fresh leaves across the ground to hide their tracks. If the riders returned, they would find nothing but empty stone. Their plan was simple: reach the nearest sheriff before the outlaws discovered the rest of the shelters marked on the map. They had not traveled far when the sound of horses echoed through the hills. "They found us," Ethan said quietly. The riders appeared from behind a line of rocks and spread across the narrow trail, blocking every path forward. Their leader pointed toward Ayanna. "Hand over the map, and no one gets hurt." Ethan stepped in front of her without hesitation. "There is no map for you." The leader laughed and ordered his men to move in. Just then, a sharp whistle echoed across the valley. From the trees emerged several Apache warriors with bows raised. They had been watching from a distance after recognizing Ayanna's trail. The outlaws froze, suddenly outnumbered. Their leader glanced around and realized the hunt was over. One by one, the riders lowered their weapons. For the first time in many years, Ayanna stood in the open without fear, knowing she was no longer carrying the burden alone. The outlaws were taken into custody by the sheriff after the Apache warriors escorted them to the nearest settlement. With the danger finally gone, the hidden trail of shelters remained safe, just as Ayanna's husband had hoped. A few days later, Ethan returned to the cave one last time. The morning sun filled the valley with quiet light. Ayanna was standing outside, planting young cedar trees near the entrance. She smiled as Ethan approached. "I thought you had gone for good," she said. "I almost did," Ethan replied. "Then I realized some places are worth coming back to." Ayanna handed him the small wooden horse her husband had carved years before. "He believed kindness travels farther than fear," she said. "I think he would have wanted you to have this." Ethan accepted the gift with great care. "I will keep that promise alive." As he rode away, he looked back one final time. Ayanna stood at the mouth of the cave, no longer hidden from the world. The lonely refuge had become a symbol of hope once again, welcoming those who needed help instead of hiding from danger. On the frontier, people often remembered the battles that were fought. Yet the greatest stories were sometimes written by simple acts of courage, trust, and compassion that quietly changed lives for generations to come. Some legends are not remembered because of the battles they won, but because of the lives they quietly changed. Ethan and Ayanna proved that courage is not always found in a showdown. Sometimes it is found in offering shelter, protecting hope, and choosing kindness when fear seems easier. If this story touched your heart, please leave a like to support the channel. It helps us bring more unforgettable frontier stories to life. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss another original Western tale filled with courage, honor, sacrifice, unexpected friendships, and inspiring moments from the Old West. Finally, tell us in the comments. Do you believe one act of kindness can create a legacy that lasts for generations? Thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next Frontier Legend.